Hello, and welcome to the inside of my phone. I'm Duncan, and I am going to do the what looks inside my Kindle tag today. So I just thought it would just be easy just to record the video inside the phone. So here's my Kindle app. I actually just ordered a Kindle. The Boxing Day sale did a really good deal, so yeah, actually going to have a real life Kindle for the first time since ooh, early 2010s. But yeah, I've just been using the app. But I like to not use my phone so much these days for reading. But yeah, here's the books that I own, and I don't have a ton on my Kindle, but I'll probably change somewhere soon. So I'm currently reading Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley. Yeah, it's part of the Killer Reads book club that AJ Dunn of AJ Dunn Reason Rights is currently hosting. I have Neverending Nightmare by I can never remember their first names, but it's like Dardo and Laval. That's a political book about uh, neoliberalism and democracy, I think. That was just a kind of a tester. It's a Verso book, and if you buy a physical book, they always give you a free download. So I was just testing that out. I have a NetGalley um, book, The Case for Universal Voting by E.G. Dion Jr. and Miles Rappaport. Um, so yeah, one of my goals for 2022 is maybe just to read a little bit more um, new books, new releases, and I thought the easiest way to do that was NetGalley. I find NetGalley is very, very good and a lot more interesting books than often that I can get from the library, and also the wait times. I find new releases on my library system, it can be a couple months till you actually can get the holds. So it's quite good just to find uh, new stuff that hasn't been released. There's also, I feel like if I have a platform, it's nice to also shout out some books where it might actually make a bit of a difference to somebody. The Magical Maze, Seeing the World Through Mathematical Eyes by Ian Stewart. That's just obviously a book about how amazing maths is. I did maths A level, and I went on to do physics for university before I dropped out. So I am quite interested in mathematics and physics. Um, and then I have 1930s Pulp Sci-Fi. I think it's the beginning of Pulp Sci-Fi, Lost Stories from 1930s. That has been edited by Chet Derrick, I think it is. Um, so that is, I've read half of one of the novels that's included in that. That's why it's at 10%. And it was good so far. I think it was set in like Bermuda, which is very interesting, and it was pretty cool actually. I should actually get back to that. Um, this one here is a crime story. Uh, it's like Terra Panics. What's the full title here? Terra Panics: The Crime Quiz by David Manners, who was a pulp crime writer. I think there was also a David Manners that was also a sci-fi writer, not the same person. But yeah, that was actually a really terrific story. Good fun. I guess it rearranged when you wrote it. Yeah, that was a really really fun story. It was quite short, um, but it was good. It was basically someone bumping off. There's a crime, like a true crime panel show that they look into cold cases, and they've actually had been able to solve a couple, I think, and so um, someone keeps bumping off the people on the panel with, I think, with bombs, so she just gets blown up. It was very interesting. It was a very fun story. I got The Brain Hunter by Matt Wall. BookTube's on Matt Wall. He's BookTube's on the Paperback Junkie. I really like that. It says 1%, but I'm pretty sure I read all of it. I probably went back at some point, but that was a good story. Very high recommend. I think there's more in it as well. I only read the first one, so sadly. Or book. it might be like book 0, just like introducing the characters and stuff. The Haunted House, a true ghost story by Walter Hubble. This will just be a free download. Just your kind of average rights-free Project Gutenberg style one. I think most of these books are probably free to little money. It's kind of one of the main reasons I got Kindle in the first place, was to just get lots of free ebooks of public domain titles. I think the Haunted House is set in somewhere in Eastern Canada, which is very interesting. I have The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which I read when I was a child. I haven't read since. So gets neat. I guess that's new. I think I just downloaded it recently. I have Peter Cheney, This Man is Dangerous. That's the first in the Lemmy Caution novels. Peter Cheney was a British crime writer from the 1930s to the 1950s, I think, something like that. And he was a bestseller. He's completely forgotten now. But he was, even though he's British, he wrote very much American characters. Lemmy Caution is the FBI agent. Although I think in the first one it's not obvious that he's an FBI agent, but he gets transplanted to the UK, so a lot of the action actually is in the UK, but he is an American FBI agent, and it is written in kind of like the American Half-Blood style. They're very funny. Don Quizcoat by Miguel Cervantes. Quizcoat is actually how that the English pronunciation, but it's most commonly known as Don Quixote. That's obviously not the Project Gutenberg download. I'll eventually get to that. I'm never going to read that in physical form because it's just such a huge book. So that was my intention, to get the ebook, and it would be a lot easiest. And I have David Sedaris, 2 classic stories. I don't really know much about that. I have read a little bit of David Sedaris, but that's probably what my wife downloaded when we were traveling, and I still have my old Kindle. So yeah, my wife borrowed it and downloaded a couple of books from David Sedaris. So there's also David Sedaris Let's Explore Diabetes with Owls. I have The Devil's Dictionary by Ambrose Bierce, another one that I always wanted to get to that I just downloaded because it's free. Same as The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Very big fan of the movie. I downloaded the book just to see how different it was. A lot of people never used to believe me that it was a book, and not just a book, but a book series. They always thought that it was just a movie. So I always like to show people as well, like, look, it is a book. It comes up a lot in quizzes as well, actually. Who wrote The Wonderful Wizard? I think it was also Trivial Pursuit. I think I used to do quite well at Trivial Pursuit because I have weird interests and just random facts that I just know. And for some reason, who wrote The Wizard of Oz is a popular one. The Ragged Trials of Philanthropists by Robert Tressel. This is actually a book I really, really want to read. That was definitely, I love kind of lefty political kind of protest novel type thing, and it's definitely one that's been on a lot of lists for more lefty books. The Haunted Hotel by Wilkie Collins. There was definitely a point in my life which I was trying to get into some classic horror. So it must have coincided with this Kindle purchases. South of the Story of Shackleton's 1914 to 1917 expedition, obviously by Sir Ernest Henry Shackleton. Very, very much. I was very obsessed with, probably still am, obsessed with adventurers, especially kind of like pioneers of like the cold weather polar expeditions. both poles, Northwest Passage expeditions, and also obviously Mount Everest and other impressive mountaineering expeditions. But especially like in the turn to the mid 20th century, very much is my wheelhouse. The Vampire by John Williams Bulldory, again another classic horror story, as well as The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. A lot of these are books that I've watched the movie adaptations of, so I probably also wanted to get kind of more of an insight into the movies as well. The Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I also have a physical copy of that too. Moby Dick of the White Whale by Henry Melville. This is definitely a book that I've wanted to read for a very long time, probably since I was a teenager. I love the movie with Gregory Peck. It's absolutely a really fascinating movie, and I'm sure the book is even more fascinating, especially if you are interested in fishing communities. I think it does a very good job of portraying fishing communities and then just what it's like to be a fisherman. Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, again, because Apocalypse Now, so always wanted to just have a bit of reference to it. For Richer, for Poorer, Confessions of a Player by Victoria Coren. So people who won't necessarily be familiar with Victoria Coren, she's a British broadcaster, and also has a famous dad, Alan Coren, who was a fantastic journalist and broadcaster for many years in the UK, and Victoria Coren and her brother Giles Coren kind of followed in the footsteps. And I think she used to write. I don't know if she still does not. She used to write for, I think it was The Guardian and The Observer, and Giles wrote for The Times. But she now hosts one of my favourite quiz shows, Only Connect, which I watch every week. So yeah, it's fantastic. I'm a big fan of Victoria Coren, and this is a book just when she went into the world of poker, and she became a poker player. She became a very good poker player. Next up, The Soul of Man Under Socialism by Oscar Wilde. Big fan of Oscar Wilde. And this is just an intriguing title, so I thought I would try that out. The Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, even though this copy doesn't credit Engels there, but he was definitely very much part of the Communist Manifesto, and I think it's something everyone should read. Obviously, I'm a little bit more biased, but it is one of the most influential texts in the world, especially not from non-religious text. There's Dracula by Bram Stoker, which I have read, but I'm pretty sure I read I read the physical copy. I probably just downloaded that one because it's free again. It doesn't read it anytime. Lord Arthur Saville's Crime, again another Oscar Wilde. At one point, I really wanted to try and read everything Oscar Wilde had written. Stieg Larsson, both the girl who kicked the hornet's nest and the girl who played with fire. I read the Millennium Trilogy when the Swedish movies came out, and I very much loved the movie and wanted to read the trilogy. And I also went on to read the fourth book that was written by David Lagercrantz, and I still have, I think, one or two of the Lagercrantz novels to read. I probably will at some point, but I'm not in a hurry to get through them. Charles Cummings, part of the Alec Miller spy series, so it's Spy by Nature and Spanish King. I actually found Charles Cummings when I was on Twitter back when he started. I think he basically befriended me because I posted a lot about spy stuff and crime and spy novels and movies, and so it was one of those ones where I think I just found each other, and I think I got this one because it was probably like $1, a pound or something, a couple pounds. I still haven't read it. I need to get around to reading it, But I heard he's very good. I think he's gone on to publish like a lot. A couple of cocktail recipe books because I love cocktails. I'm very interested. I definitely love the more older style, good martini, gimlet. I like a lot of like the sours and like a sidecar, things like that. Like more of a classic rather than anything like newish cocktail. The Picture of Dorian Gray again, Oscar Wilde. Frankenstein by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, classic in horror and sci-fi, I would argue, fiction, and just an incredible um, book in any whatever you however you want to classify it. Got the Bulldog. I think they're both Bulldog. Drummond. Let's see. I think they're both Bulldog Drummond. Oh, that's not even downloaded yet. Oh, maybe that one's slightly different. I'm actually not sure what the Bulldog article is. Justice Can Get Messy. Oh no, yeah, sorry, they're both Bulldog Drummond collections, which was written by Sapper, so I guess that's volume 1 and then volume 2. It's like a pulpy adventure / crime series. They're quite fun to read. Nothing great to write home about. They've pretty much been lost in the annals of time, but good fun. The Man Who Knew Too Much by G.K. Chesterton. Very much a classic of spy fiction, both the early spy fiction. Obviously, it was filmed. Was it filmed twice by Hitchcock? Yeah, I think it was filmed twice by Hitchcock. I think maybe the earlier one was actually the better version. I think he did one when he was in Britain, and I think then he refilmed it again when he was in Hollywood. I think I probably prefer the British version, but the Hollywood version is probably the most popular. And I still haven't read that one, but again, it's something from a movie has been made. A Book of Nonsense by Edward Lear is just a silly. It's quite the classic. I don't know how many people know these days, but it's just a kind of. I think it's poetry. I can't remember. It's just a silly book, and I like silly books. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Obviously, the classic poem. Again, much into the horror. Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I heard the book's actually terrible, and it's very different from any of the movie adaptations. But one of my favorite movie experiences was going to see the Silent Hollywood movie with, I think it was Neil Brand, the great silent movie composer. He played the organ there at the Care Hall in Dundee, and it was absolutely fantastic to see a silent movie in such with the classic organ, and it was just the score live. There's a few times I've seen silent movies with live scores, and it's just such a brilliant experience. The Book of Werewolves by S. Baring Gould, again another classic horror. Beauty and the Beast by Marie Le Prince de Beaumont. Not sure. Obviously, Beauty and the Beast is classic, and big fan of the. I can't remember the director, but the 1946 version is very trippy and quite avant-garde. It's just crazy. How to Speak and Write Correctly by Joseph Devlin. It's basically basic grammar and style and stuff. I quite like the old versions of these because it's very different to how it is considered these days. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, again another classic horror story of Washington Irving. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I actually don't know why I downloaded that one. I've definitely read that when I was younger. I'm not a big fan of Lewis Carroll, but yeah, I probably will read it again at some point. Grimm's Fairy Stories. not sure why I did that one either. I'm not a big fan of fairy stories. But I guess they're classics. They're free, so whatever. And lastly, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I still haven't read that. I've obviously watched every single movie version of A Christmas Carol. My favorite probably still is The Muppets. And to this day, I still am able to answer any quiz question on A Christmas Carol solely from my basically just solely from having watched the Muppet Christmas Carol a million times and my photographic knowledge of that movie. And there you have it. That is my Kindle. That's everything I have on Kindle, which is not that much. But if I do this again in 3 months' time, I'm sure it'll be a lot more. Especially when I know there's a ton of pulp and trashy novels and stuff that I want to read that are on there for very little money. You can get whole collections for a couple dollars. So yeah, very excited to explore this again soon, and I will see you again later. Bye.